A lot of people watched it, but nobody's watching day to day, all day, unless you're me and just love this stuff. Procedures are okay, but we wanted to facts. So come on in here and let me educate you on the facts. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Political Briefing. It's me, your host, the political BFF, Quentin R. Giles, but you can call me Q. Sorry about being a little late. I was definitely sitting here, but I was having some tech issues. And I had to restart my entire computer. So please forgive me for being a little tardy to the party, okay? I was a little tardy to the party. But thank y'all so much for being here. I see you, Lori Williams, Jay Willow, Jessica Hernandez, Carrie Roberts, Tammy Thurston, Joanne Roan, hey, Sierra Radcliffe, Alice Greenwolf down there on Facebook. Thank y'all so much for being here. You could be anywhere right now. You could be listening to anything right now, but you are here and I am appreciative of it. Baby, let's get into the Derek Chauvin trial because that's what everybody came to talk about. We came to talk about Derek Chauvin. Okay, Chauvin, if you want to be fancy and put your pinky up. Let's get into it. Today was closing arguments. And I was like, Chile. Oh, here my bonnet. Do y'all know I've been looking for my bonnet for like 2 days. It's been in the studio the whole time. Okay. Sorry, long weekend here. This my favorite bonnet. I like this bonnet. I like that one. I couldn't wear that one last night because I couldn't find it, but it's been in here. Anyway, today was closing arguments for the Derek Chauvin trial for the murder of George Floyd. Me personally, I was like, I'm just thankful that we're here. This has been we're going into week 4. This has been an exhausting 4 weeks. I see you, T-Sipper. I will be taking PTO after the trial, just so y'all know, baby, because I'm gonna have to decompress and sat down somewhere. So I was pleased that we finally got to closing arguments because, closing arguments means that the jury will deliberate. And at this point, it's up to the jury, right? It's up to them. But the back and forward from the lawyers and the telling us the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, it was exhausting. Having to watch George Floyd be murdered, allegedly murdered, be killed over and over, or lose his life over and over and over and over. These past 4 weeks has been, it's just been the most, okay? It's really just been the most. So I'm like, thank you, closing arguments. Let the verdict be what the verdict is going to be. I'm definitely hoping for a guilty verdict because I believe my eyes. I believe what I saw. We've talked about this before. I'm not advocating for the death penalty for Derek Chauvin. Don't believe in death penalty, but definitely believe in accountability. And holding people accountable for their wrong actions. And then when you get held accountable, then you come say something. Then you reintegrate into society and we see what you do then. Okay, but no, you can't just go. You just can't be doing whatever you want to do just because you got a badge and a gun. No, ma'am, Pam. You just get that ego up off you. Police, get that ego up off you. Okay, no. So prosecution and the defense made their closing arguments today. It went long. It was a full day of court. I thought we was going to be out in the morning. It was a full day of court. I don't think the jury went to deliberate until about 4:30, which is a normal court day for them. Like if we had witnesses, which means that the prosecution and the defense literally talked all day. That's what that meant because we had no witnesses. They literally talked all day. But I think the most poignant part at this point, of course, the jury will deliberate. There are 3 counts. There's a second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter. So they'll go and deliberate. But I just think if you don't believe, if you don't believe that Derek Chauvin is responsible by now, I was like, prosecution, wrap it up because you ain't got it, boo. If you have not convinced the people by week 2, because week 2 we start getting experts and Dr. Tobin and all that, you can hang it up. You can hang it up. Thank you, Christy. Glad you're here. Shout out to you. I see you down there in them YouTube comments. So I think one of the most poignant part, I think, was at the end for the prosecution was they had this, there was a statement made, because the defense has been trying to make this argument that, George Floyd had these pre-existing conditions, because he only needs reasonable doubt, right? And so I was talking to my barber earlier today. So I want to explain this as well. So with this murder trial, all jurors have to agree in a murder trial, like that the person is guilty. If any one of them has reasonable doubt, then you have a hung jury, which means it is a mistrial, which means Derek Chauvin goes home. The other way he would go home is if all 12 of them agree that he's not guilty. That I really don't see happening. But again, so knowing that the defense of Derek Chauvin only needed one juror, he throwing everything at the wall. Been talking about George Floyd, heart condition, drugs, all this other stuff. But I really liked at the end on the prosecution side, excuse me. On the prosecution side, he ended with, you've heard that George Floyd died because his heart was too big, but he died because Derek Chauvin's heart was too small. I said, you know what, sir? That was a good line. That was a good line because even if and we've talked, hey, if you're new here, hey, how y'all doing? Even if we get into the justification of force, absolutely, because there is me, Quentin talking. There are some, in this whole interaction with George Floyd in the beginning, there's absolute justification of police using force. Yes, I understand he was startled. I understand he got PTSD from the cops. I understand that he claustrophobic, all those things. But there was justification when the police are trying to take someone into custody. If they are struggling or fighting back, sure, there is justification in force. When you got that man down on that ground, handcuffed with your knee on his neck, even before he passed out, he stopped struggling to resist you and was trying to breathe. But then even more, when he stopped breathing and the man was limp and you still stayed on the neck for some 3+ minutes, that was a depraved mind for me. That's what I saw. I saw depravity. I saw indifference to human life. I saw ego because you had to knuck if you buck, because we didn't find out Derek Chauvin by 5'9", George Floyd by 6. What is it? 6, somewhat 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". He's a tall guy, big black guy, and you on his neck. You hear the crowd telling you get off of his neck. We see you looking at them, leaning on, putting your hands in your pockets, all this other stuff. That was a depraved mind. That was ego. That was little man syndrome. I'm gonna say that. All of that. So I want a guilty verdict. That's just me personally. I would like a guilty verdict because I think there has to be accountability. Excuse me, there has to be accountability. And so many times, now my muscle reflexes, like I've told you all before, my muscle reflexes tells me that the cop is going to get off because I've seen this story too many times, right? When cops just continue to get off, specifically when it comes to killing Black folks. Allegedly, or being involved in an altercation where the cop was white and the victim was Black and the victim somehow died based on the police interaction. How about that? I'll say that. But I just feel like if we're going to have real conversation, like, how some people make excuses for these types of things happening, like, something happened and the cop just shot, right? Split second decisions, if you will. And people make those arguments. How do you argue this when the man was laying there limp, shackled, via cuffs, you on his neck, 2 on his back, 2 on his bottom and leg portion? One of the cops even on that side suggested turning him over. Derek Chauvin says no, he's going to stay right here. How do you justify it? The man wasn't moving. You had him subdued. So I'm willing to have a whole bunch of conversation. I'm willing to talk about appropriate force and use of force. And I'm willing to give way, if you will, to say, yeah, okay, yeah. He wasn't getting in the car. That part was justified. Now justify this. You can't justify that part. So I'm looking for a guilty verdict, period. That's what I'm looking for. So we'll see. The jury, they can take as much time as they want. I believe, if I remember correctly from the judge's instructions, they'll be working from 10 a to 10 p CST time. So at a certain point, like 10:30-ish, they have to stop if they haven't reached the decision. and they have to pick it up the following day. But the jury can take as much time as they want. I mean, they've been back there past 10 minutes. I was going to say they could take 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 weeks, 10 months. It's highly unlikely they do all that, but the jury literally gets to decide. They get to decide if Derek Chauvin is not guilty. They get to decide if he's guilty, and they get to decide if they can't agree and they are a hung jury. So the decision is completely in their hands right now. So we just kind of have to sit back and wait. But I would definitely say guard yourself, baby, because I just don't. I hope I'm wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. I'll come on here and say I'm wrong. But I just seen the cops get off one too many times. So one too many times, 15 too many times, 20 too many times, all the time, So, yeah. Anyway, so that's that. So we'll be keeping an update. We'll be keeping an eye out on that. I do want to talk about something. I didn't make a 1-minute video, but I might come back. But I did find out today, politics side, I was watching Ari Melber down there on that MSNBC, and he actually did a report. Remember back we was talking about Trump and them Russians putting bounties on his head, and he didn't do nothing and all that other stuff. Well, turns out, or it seems as though the story wasn't true and the sources weren't as verified as I believe the New York Times was the one that broke the story. They put out there. Some intelligence agencies under the Biden administration have, come back around to talk about it and have basically said that, not that wasn't a real story, but that the legitimacy, they were still investigating and all these other things. The legitimacy of it wasn't coming from a credible source, and it doesn't look like that happened. So I know I was one of the main ones out here talking about, he ain't doing nothing. Them Russians got bounties on their heads. I was hot. But that was the information that I had. So I'm coming to let you know, let's correct the record, because the intelligence agencies have said that is not a thing. So, okay, Trumpy, okay, we'll let me apologize for my smoke regarding that and that alone. Since now we know that it's actually not a thing. So that we be all on one accord and we be educated and we know what we're talking about. And we learn to come back and say we wrong. We learn to say we wrong, cool, we wrong. I was wrong. So my bad, Trump, my bad on that. Okay? Very specific. So anyway, guys, that is our daily political briefing today. I think throughout the week, the episodes or the briefings may be longer. Seeing as how the trial is, the jury is being sequestered, that is going to alleviate me and give me more time to kind of tap back into politics and run down a couple of stories like we normally do prior to the trial. We normally get on here, we do about 3 or 4 stories, chit and chat about it. But I was solely focused on this trial. So as long as they're deliberating, I'll go ahead and allow myself to jump back into politics. And so we'll talk about it. So they may get a little longer. Excuse me. They may get a little longer or go back to some sense of normal, if you will, this week. So thank you all so much for being here. If you learned something, if you enjoyed, definitely hit the Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. Okay, I was waiting on the last one. I was like, I know there's one more on there. Zelle. That helps me and the team to continue to do what we do. Like I told you, we have 2 employees now. We have 3 interns. One of my interns is elevated to one of my employees. So everything that you give is really helping the mission, and you'll be able to meet them one day. I'm gonna say this for a while because they are extremely busy working on some other stuff. So I don't want to overburden them with getting bios and photos together, but we're gonna get all that together and I will introduce them to you. We may even, I may even see if they want to come on the show one night. So that's it, guys. If Jesus is the same, I will be back tomorrow giving you all the political tea. Get into that. Until next time, guys, I love you in the Lord. Y'all have a great night. A lot of people watched it, but nobody's watching day to day, all day, unless you're me and just love this stuff. Procedures are okay, but we want to know, where do you stand? And so I think the more that politicians stop trying to be politicians and be people, then that will engage voters. We reject alternative facts, so come on in here and let me educate you on the facts.